Tyler Boyer. These are my co-hosts, Joe Germani, Todd Bean. What's going on, guys? Yeah, here. This is Bet with the Boys every Friday. This is a weekly sports podcast we do for NGSC Sports. We go through all of the NFL's weekly spreads based off the Delaware Sports Lottery. And we give you all the games. We pick the over-under. We have our 3 locks at the end of every show. And real quick, before we get into the show, let me give a quick shout-out to everyone here at NGSC Sports. We've been working really hard over here, trying to get our viewership up and getting our ratings going over here. And just a quick shout-out to something going on. Just posted on Wednesday, I had the weekly NFL preview, the Pigskins preview. You can find that up on our website right now. Shout out to our other podcasts we have on Tuesday, the NGSC Sports Weekly. It's featuring myself. And then our co-host on Wednesdays, who does Attack on the Politicos. And then also on Wednesday, Shaquan Krowski does the NFL West Recess. On Thursdays is a wrestling show, 3 Count Thursday. On Fridays, we have Bet with the Boys. On Saturdays, it's In the Batter's Box, which is our weekly baseball podcast. Real quick, though, guys, the thing I was thinking about saw last week is only 3 favorites didn't cover last week, and that was the Dolphins, the Titans, and the Panthers. So a lot of favorites covered last week. There was a lot of close spreads. It was a pretty weird week. Some things that caught my eyes is I think the Steelers are looking really good right now, 5-2. They bounced back after that terrible game against Jacksonville. They've been giving the ball to Le'Veon. He's had over 30 carries in back-to-back games. Antonio Brown's doing what Antonio Brown does, putting up his numbers. And the Rams, 5-2. That's what the heck's going on. I don't know. They're Sean McVay, coach of the year right now.
Doug Peterson.
I don't know. Taking that team last year. We'll see. They'll let that play out. And then I don't know what's going on with the Panthers. They looked awful against Chicago. But anything else that caught your guys' eyes from last week before we get into how we actually did?
Yeah, I just can't believe Cam last week. It just looks like he's not even trying anymore. Or cares about football, really.
Yeah.
And it makes a question about the Panthers going forward, and their chances of making the playoffs.
They're very inconsistent. It's like everything is going great when Cam's playing well and everything, but they start losing. Cam doesn't win good press conferences.
Cam starts pouting.
Yeah, teams.
Yeah.
This is bad over there in Carolina. Anything that caught your eye last week, Joe?
No. Really surprised about these big spreads that didn't cover, but other than that, not much.
Well, last week it was 14 games last week, but we had the Bucks that we said there was nothing on the cards. We determined I saw online 3.5, but the cards finished at 2.5, and Joe wrote on the screen 3. So we just called this game a push, no bet. So it was off the record. So we had 13 games last week. In last place, but only getting 6 points, 6 and 7 against the spread. No over-unders. Typical. Down week for Ty, 46%.
It's all right.
It's all right. And they're in second place, 7 points, 4 and 4 against the spread, 3 and 2 over-unders, 53% for the week is myself. And that means the winner of the week, getting the monkey off his back. The big 8 points, 6 and 3 against the spread, 2 and 2 versus the over-unders. 62% for the week, Joe Germani. How's it feel, Joe?
Still in last place.
Well, I thought you'd be a little more excited about this. Y'all ringing the cowbell, Joe?
Hey, man, it's over there. I think it's, what do we do? Do we determine it's every week or it's whoever's winning?
I don't know. You told me you were ringing that damn cowbell. Ring the cowbell, Joe. Feel good about it. There you go. But their current standings at the moment, as Joe stated, he is in last place, but he's making a comeback, only 4 games back, 31 points out of 69, 20 and 26 against the spread, 11 and 12 overall, 45% for the year. There's Joe, and then Ty at the top, me and Ty, both at 51%. Ty's 33 and 30 against the spread, 2 and 4 overall for the over-unders against the year. I'm at 20 and 21 against the spread for the year and 15 and 13 against the over-unders. Both 51%, 35-69. We lose money if we're better because of the juice, but hey, we're consistent. We're working with something. We're trying to figure some things out. And so, yeah, that's how we did last week. We expect better. We've been actually thinking about doing a Tuesday show for about 15-20 minutes. We'll make a post on YouTube of us just going through all the games on the spreads from last week, just talking about them. about who didn't cover, the games, the prizes, like what happened, just to give you guys some more feedback on how to get a winner. But speaking of getting winners, we have a new segment this week that my man Joe Germani is about to take over. It's called How to Pick a Card, or How to Pick a Winner. It's basically going to go through on how to look at the Delaware Lottery cards, going through the teasers, the super teasers, and making the smartest picks on how to actually win a card, because it's more than just picking the right games. It's all about the weight, the times, like the certain teams you put on the same card together, the super teasers you take. There's a lot of more looking into it, and you have to really think about just who wins. So, Joe, I'm gonna let you take over. How to pick a card?
So these are some tips and tricks that I've learned from losing cards on bad beats. I can't believe I did this, can't believe I did that. Just some things that I've picked up along the way while I've been doing these cards over the past year. So the first thing that I like to do that has kind of, it's got me a lot of times, is I pick one team, but I pick them consistently all throughout all the games. So I think one week when I did this was actually the week I took the Texans to beat the who are they playing? I think it was -1.5 against the Titans. The Texans -1.5 against the Titans. And I took the Texans in the picks, got them right, but on my cards, I put the Titans on my teaser and my super teaser. So, I mean, if anybody remembers that game, I think it was from week 4 or 5. They ended up losing by 30-some points or something, so that busted all my cards. So one thing I like to do is I like to mix it up and do teasers. You too?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I told you. It's the worst. So one thing I like to do is if I put a team on a half point, unless I'm very, very confident in them, I won't put them on my teaser. Or I'll do 2 half points, but I'll do different teams on all with non-similar picks, just so in case I lose off a bad beat, or I lose on one of my cards, it doesn't bust all my cards for the rest of the day. So another thing that I've noticed is right here we do half points usually for our spreads, but as you know, there's also teasers and super teasers. One thing that I wanted to point out is if you look at a teaser and a super teaser, if you're looking to take teams, obviously with teasers, you get more points for one team, and then you get the over-unders are usually moved a little bit so they're closer together. So one thing that I noticed though is that if you look at a teaser and a super teaser, the difference between over-unders is they only move 2 points. So if we look right here on let's take the Vikings-Browns game, right? So you have the regular over-under 37.5, but on a teaser, you've got it at over 32.5 and under 42.5. So it's a 10-point swing you've got there to pick in between. And then you have on a super teaser, you have 30.5 and 44.5. So if you look at it, they're pretty close together. So it's almost not even worth taking an over or an under on a super teaser sometimes, unless you're very confident, because you could always just take that on a teaser with better odds. One thing I also like to do, especially when it comes to teasers and super teasers, is make sure I get the amount of teams I pick right. Right. So I like to do depending on whether it's a teaser or super teaser, I usually do 7 or 8 teams for a teaser, which is the odds on those. So if you do 7, it's 10-1. And if you do 8, it's 15-1. So those are the odds that I like. So I usually put maybe $5-10 on a teaser. So to win 50 or $100, that's usually what I do to give you the best chance, I think.
Another thing I would say is to try and utilize have maybe 4 spreads and 3 over-unders that you feel good about, and getting the points. So that way, it's not always just picking the spreads, because you're down to get 1 spread wrong out of 7, even with a teaser.
Yeah, honestly, he is right. Sometimes on teasers, spreads, you get these huge spreads, the Niners getting 24.5 points against the Eagles. It's a lot of points on a super teaser, but at the same time, they also could lose that game by 24 points. Do we think it's going to happen? We're not sure, but sometimes in those situations, when you're getting a lot of points like that with a really bad team, it's almost not even worth putting them on your card, because you're they could cover, they could keep the game close, but sometimes you really, as we've seen, we really don't have any idea sometimes with these games.
And some things I like to do too is sometimes take two of the same game. So the Browns game, I really like plus 15.5. I don't think the Vikings have the firepower offensively to beat a team by 2 touchdowns, especially the Browns play pretty good defense. They always play tough. They just don't know how to win a game because they're so young at quarterback. But so I would take the Browns 15.5 and the under 42.5 in the same game to try and just give you up. If you feel really good about a certain game, just try and get 2 points in one game. Or even in cases where maybe not this week, but look at the Seahawks-Texans. I think the Seahawks are when they're going to win the game, but are the Texans going to lose by more than 11.5? I don't know. You could take both sides there and try and just double up.
Yeah, something I like to do sometimes too is when you have a game where you're where the spread's maybe 3.5 sometimes, or maybe 2.5, you get sometimes on these teasers, you get a lot of points both ways. And you say, I think that this team is going to keep the game close enough to where both teams can actually cover. And I actually had a card hit last year where I did that. I think it was a playoff game between the think I want to say the Chiefs and the Steelers. I think it was like I think the spread was like
It was 1.5.
yeah, it was like 1.5. But I took the Chiefs like getting like
6.5.
6.5, and then the Steelers getting like 7.5 or something. But then that game ended up being like within 3 points, so I ended up getting both sides. Another thing that I do when I take teasers sometimes is try not to take teams who are plus like 1 point or plus a half a point. Like in this case, we got the Vikings plus a half a point on a super teaser. The Vikings are probably going to win this game, but for me, I think you increase your chances of winning if you don't take teams like this. Because if you take teams like this, like you're betting like, okay, I think this team's going to win straight up no matter what. But sometimes, especially this game in London this week, I mean, the Vikings are definitely the better team, can beat the Browns, but you never know what's going to happen. Like just like last week with the or was it 2 weeks ago with the Falcons and the Dolphins, where the Falcons were like 8-point favorites or something like that, and then 12.5-point favorites. Yep, and they ended up losing the game to the Dolphins. So if you took that game on a super teaser, that definitely would have busted your card.
Absolutely.
Another thing that I like to look at is if you look at a super teaser. I'm not sure if anybody really knows this or pays attention, but the majority of teams cover on a super teaser. So about like 70% of the total amount of games on here, like as far as like spreads both ways, over unders and stuff, usually they end up covering, because if you look at some of these numbers, like the Saints-Bears game, the game can either go over 39.5 and under 53.5, but if it stays in that range, both the over and the under hit. So in a lot of situations where the over-unders are moved, a lot of over-unders will hit both ways sometimes, or teams will hit both ways because of the points going one way or another, especially when you get teams getting points, like they're usually the favorites. It's usually like an automatic win, like especially if they're looking good the whole game, like you feel good about it. The only thing, though, that the problem with is these super teasers, and I know that this is why they do it, is you get all these points, you feel really good. I mean, you go through, you say, I pick 10, 11 that I like I think I'm going to win this week, and then you get that one team that always busts you, and that's the problem with these teasers. This is why I like the teasers, I like to go at them, but sometimes, like, if you're not really feeling that confident or you're not really feeling one pick or another, like, sometimes it's better to just leave the super teasers alone, because as you saw, like, you get better odds on a teaser sometimes. You don't have to pick as many games to win. The over-unders don't really move that much more on teasers versus super teasers, and sometimes on spreads on teasers, the spreads are close enough to where it's not even worth taking it one way or the other.
And
where it's better to just take it on a teaser versus a super teaser.
last thing I think we should say for the super teasers, that was if you are going to take a super teaser, go with the dogs. Take the Bears plus 19.5. Take the Colts plus 21.5. The Chargers plus 17.5. Texans plus 15. Skins plus 13. Broncos plus 17. These are all crazy spreads, and you see blowouts in the league, but it's always when you kind of see them coming. How often do you really see a Jags 27-0 victory they had against the Colts? But even that, the Jags defense is good, very good. So, yeah, I just think take the dogs with the big points in the super teasers, especially this week with a lot of big spreads out there.
Take the dogs, but make sure you're careful which one you take, because sometimes like these big spreads, like honestly, I really like the 15.5 for the Texans at the Seahawks this week. I think the Texans have enough of an offense to where they might be able to keep the game within 15.5 points. One thing that I would caution you with is, though, when it comes to taking bad teams with a lot of points, you got to think, like just like you said about the Jaguars and the Colts game. Sometimes it's difficult for them to cover because they can't put up any points. So
don't take the Niners this week plus 24.5.
It's a lot of points.
That's the biggest one on there.
That's why I brought it up. That's why I brought it up. Like that's a lot of points, and like honestly, like how crazy would it be to see the Eagles win 28-3? Like, Niners only scored 3 points, especially losing Brian Hoyer, and it's kind of funny saying losing Brian Hoyer, but I mean their team has kind of taken a hit. You saw last week, like they lost by 30 points to the Cowboys after going.
They didn't lose Brian Hoyer. They benched Brian.
They benched Brian Hoyer. My bad. Honestly, he did bad enough. They brought in CJ Beathard. I don't know. That team's weird. Honestly, they went from going 5 games within a field goal or less points to getting beat by 30. So I threw that out there on the show. I should have known that they weren't going to cover this week, but that's just how it goes.
All right, guys. Well, so yeah, that is our new segment, how to pick a card. We'll touch back on that. We gave some updates.
And 40-0 Ravens. Good. Shout out Bob Boyer. He was watching last night.
Yes, we did touch the Ravens. Dominated last night. Had their defense starting in my fantasy league, as did Joe.
Same. 28 points. Crazy. 2 pick sixes. Would not have expected that.
Big day. All right, so let's get into this week's games. Real quick preview for this. I saw some interesting lines that I saw, things that are noteworthy for this week. Is there 3 home teams getting points, which home dogs, I'm always look to them. And then there's 6 games this week, which is half of the games that are over a touchdown spread. Only 3 games are under a field goal. And the biggest over-under is 50.5 in Dallas and Washington, and the lowest over-under is 37.5 between the Browns and the Vikings. And that's exactly where we're going to start this week in London. It's the Vikings 9.5-point favorites against the Browns. Over-under, as we mentioned, 37.5. What's your guys' take here?
Personally, I think I like the Vikings minus 9.5 here. Obviously, but I'm not very confident that these London games they've been really weird, honestly. Like, if you see some teams get blown out, like the Jaguars blew out the Ravens 3 weeks ago. But I mean, at the same time, I didn't see that coming. But then you have teams who don't cover, and the games almost always go under. So I think the safe bet here might be to take the under. But I'm going to take the Vikings minus 9.5. I think the Browns lose Joe Thomas here going overseas. I think that's going to take a big hit on him. Myles Garrett might also not play. And this Vikings defense is looking like they're starting to play a lot better, and their offense actually is starting to play a lot better too. They've been looking like a better team week to week, so I'm going to take the Vikings minus 9.5 here against a bad Browns team.
Shit, Ty.
Yeah, I like the Vikings minus 9.5 here. I did some looking up on London games. The favorites won all 3 times in London, and all 3 games have been 44-7. It's all been blowouts. Saints won 20-0, and the Rams won 33-0 against the Cardinals. It always seems like the underdog really just doesn't show up in the London games, which makes me have a lot of confidence in the Vikings minus 9.5. Plus, they're getting Stephon Diggs back. Joe mentioned that Joe Thomas isn't playing this week for the Browns, and Kaiser is just a turnover machine. So if you have the Vikings defense, I would start them on fantasy. Expect 2 touchdowns. And I got to say, I think the Vikings are going to blow out the Browns.
Very adamant. 9.5 for Ty. Some things I read is, both defenses are very good. They're both top 10. Vikings are ranked 4th, and the Browns are ranked 9th. Offensively, the Vikings are 12th, but they've had a good running game, but no Dalvin Cook, and running games. Latavius Murray and Jerry McKinnon have stepped in well. But the Browns are also 5th against the run. So it's going to be a lot of Case Keenum. Can he expose that Brown secondary? We're going to see.
The Vikings are a different team when Stephon Diggs plays.
I agree. I do think that does help. But I just don't know how many points are going to be. I just don't know how many the Browns are going to score anything at all, really.
We know Kaiser's good for at least 2 turnovers.
Absolutely.
He's probably going to throw at least a pick or two, at least against that Vikings defense.
Other things I read, though, are the under and the 4 of the last 6 for the Vikings have hit, and the under 11 of the last 15 for the Browns. So these teams are consistently going under. And my head going into the game was take the Browns and the points. I don't know why. I think it's going to be a close game. The Browns played a lot of teams tight this year. So I'm going with the under 37.5 and just not going to mess with that spread. You guys fill the picks in so we don't get confused on any nonsense this week. Next game up, though, the Saints minus 9.5 versus the Bears. Over under in this one's 46.5. Game's in New Orleans. What are you guys thinking here?
I'm personally thinking the Bears plus 9.5. I was kind of on the Saints train earlier this week, Saints minus 9.5. But I think that personally, I think the Bears defense is good. I think a lot of people are not giving them the credit they deserve. They have, you look at it last week, they have two fumble. Eddie Jackson had he had a pick and he had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. This defense it's not bad. They held Cam Newton to 3 points. They can play. And that's the thing is what I'm kind of thinking, I think they can play well enough on defense to hold the Saints within 9.5 points. And also I think Trubisky had a bad week last week against a tough Carolina defense. I think he had four completions out of 7 or something like that. Not great. But I think that if they can run the ball against the Saints, which I think that they can, I think they can keep this game within 9.5 points and cover the spread.
See, I disagree. I think that the Saints have really been clicking on offensive lately, and Mitchell Trubisky, because he does not want to be referred as Mitch anymore, has looked not good. He only had 4 completions last week. They had nothing going offensively. The only points was the Eddie Jackson turnovers for touchdowns. And the Saints D has been playing better lately. You've seen Marshawn Lattimore come in. He's really stepped up for their secondary. The Bears are 3-8 in their last 11 against the spread on the road. The Saints, over their last 11-15, have covered as a favorite against a team below 500. I just think that the Saints are clicking here offensively, and this is a big win for them, 9.5. I think they put them to points on the Superdome. As Joe said last night to me, I'm kind of surprised he picked the Bears because I was going with the Bears. He said, how long can the Bears defense really stop Drew Brees? It's only a matter of time before he gets going. So I like the Saints minus 9.5 here.
That being said, you got to think like the Saints have a different offense this year than they have had in years past. They're more of like a ball like running team, ball dominant. They got Ingram and Kamara. They like spreading the ball out. It's not like downfield passes where Drew Brees throws for like 350 yards a game and 4 touchdowns anymore. It's more of a time possession. They win the games because they have very good run defense, and they also have Drew Brees, Hall of Fame quarterback, who can still put up 250 yards, like 300 games. But that being said, that also makes me believe because the Bears play their best. They get the most turnovers they have during away games this year, which makes me think that the under is going to hit here. So I like it at 46.5. And then Ty mentioned Marshawn Lattimore. I bet there's a lot of teams. He fell to 11. A lot of teams in the top 10 are kicking themselves right now. They could have a like legit number one cornerback.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like the under here too. And I just don't think the Bears can be able to score much at all because we've said with the Lattimore, improved Saints running defense. Saints have 2 threats, I think, on running the ball. I think the Saints get it done here. And under is probably a safe pick too. So I think your head's at there. All right. Next game we got up is the Falcons, who have been struggling as of late. Minus 4.5 against the Jets. This is the 3rd straight AFC East opponent for the Falcons. Do they finally get the monkey off their back and win against the AFC East?
You guys have been tuning in every week. I have been the biggest Jets supporter. But this week, I'm off the Jets bandwagon, and I'm on with the Falcons. I just think the Falcons, I mean, they went to the Super Bowl last year. They have to turn their team around. That they know this is a must-win game for them and their season against the Jets, and 4.5 is kind of low. Speaking of that, I think the Jets defense could give up a lot of points here to the Falcons.
So you're taking the over here?
No, I like the Falcons minus 4.
Okay. My bad. I am with you on here. I'm taking the Falcons minus 4.5. Falcons are 5-0 straight up against the spread against teams with a losing record in the last 5. The Jets are ranked 25th on D. They allow 23 points a game, playing the 7th rated overall offense. Even though they've been struggling, they still score. They still put up their points. And not last week, obviously. They had looked awful. But I think they're going to see a lot of Devontae Freeman. They're going to run the ball. And Jets are 4-0-1 against the spread of their last 5. They've been playing hot lately. It's bound to come to an end. We've been riding the Jets wagon all the way, but it's time to hop off. Take the Falcons minus 4.5.
Yeah, I'm going to take – I like the Falcons minus 4.5 here, but personally, I don't know. I just have a weird feeling about it, like with taking them minus 4.5 on the road here. So I'm just going to take the over at 45.5. I think that the Falcons offense really has been struggling. I think they haven't been able to figure out what's been working for them. So I think that this week against the Jets is where they could exploit this Jets defense. And I think they're going to run the ball a lot. I think they're also going to throw the ball a lot. I think they're going to put up a lot of points. But I think at the same time, the Jets aren't out of it either. I think that the Jets can score at least a touchdown or 2 on the Falcons. I don't think this Falcons defense – I was kind of high on the Falcons defense coming into this year, but I think they've been struggling. They haven't been playing their best. So I think, especially on the road here, I think the Jets might be able to score like maybe 2 touchdowns, maybe 10 points here. So I'm going to take the over at 45.5, especially with this Falcons team. I think it finally figures it out this week and gets rolling.
Okay. So here we go. I like the over. I don't know. Jets. I just feel like they're bound to have a stinker.
Yeah, we haven't seen a Jets stinker yet this year.
Sorry. Here we go. Another game that the line kind of surprised me on this one. The Bucks, who are 2-4 this year, minus 2.5 at home against the Panthers. Over under in this one's 45.5. I think this line is trying to get people to take the Panthers. A lot of the money is on the Panthers right now, but I think it's for good reason. The Panthers are 3-1 against the spread on the road this year, and the Bucks are 1-2 against the spread at home. Panthers are 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 as a dog. Tampa's 4-9 of the last 13 at home. The Bucks rank first in passing offense. It's been their only way to get anything going. It's just Jameis Winston making things happen. And they're playing the 4th rated passing defense to the Carolina Panthers. I think the Panthers this year have been playing iffy. Cam Newton has been playing his best. Things have been like kind of chaotic. Can't believe in another press conference. But I think they get it together this week. The Bucks have looked pretty terrible all season. They're ranked 30th through defense and 30th through the air passing. So I think You're gonna see a big game from Cam. I like the Panthers minus 2.5 on the plus 2.5 on the road.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna take the Bucks here minus 2.5. Personally, like everything that Ty said, them being 2-4, them having a bad passing defense and all that other stuff would make you want to take the Panthers plus 2.5. But I think that personally, I'm just gonna take the Bucks minus 2.5. I think that this Bucks team has talent, and I think that they really need to figure out like what they're gonna do with their offense because they've been starting to figure it out, but I just don't like 30th in rushing offense when you've got Doug Martin, you've got Jaquiz Rogers. I just don't get it. Like I think that this week is the week that maybe they can get some running game going. They can finally start moving the ball more efficiently. I think Cam last week totally looked like he quit on that team. I don't know if I can back that. Somebody who like quits on their team and like doesn't play well week to week and is kind of like a wild card. Like, will Cam play well? Will he be in the right mindset before the game? So I'm just gonna take the Bucks minus 2.5. I think personally I feel better about it than taking the Panthers. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I think with Cam, he's one of those people you just don't know. He's the MVP Cam Newton one week, and then he plays awful. He's the regular Cam Newton that we've seen before, where he can't throw better than like 60% completion. And I just think Cam, like the head Casey walked out on the interview the other day. Like I just think he's not really focused on football right now, and that makes me believe in the Bucks. And the Bucks have like every single dollar they have spent on Deshaun Jackson has been totally worth it for the Bucks because they have one of the best offenses, especially with Deshaun and Mike Evans. Is really hard to stop them. So I think the Bucks offense is good enough that they're going to be able to cover this 2.5.
Your boy Donnie has an opinion on show that comment. That's one way to put it, Donnie.
Donnie's right.
And by the way, shout out to my boy Donnie Hammond, big supporter of us. He's been gave me the idea to do a Tuesday recap show. So look out for that this Tuesday, Donnie. Appreciate your support. All right, so there we go. But so we got you guys going with the Bucks, but I've been big on the Bucks all year, but I think it's just time to get off.
So real. This is my last week for the Bucks. If they don't figure it out this week, I don't know. I have to start betting against them. I don't know. They're just
been off the Panthers train for a while now.
Panthers getting points though. I feel good about it.
Just lost Noah Spence though too. It's like that doesn't really make me feel good about the Bucks either. But I mean, I don't know.
Next game up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles coming in this game 6-1, playing the 0-7 San Francisco 49ers. Over under this one 46.5. Go ahead, Ty.
Like birds. Minus 13.5. I think the Eagles might be a 30-point game that the Eagles could put up on the 49ers. As you saw last week, the 49ers were home against the Cowboys. Cowboys defense is not even comparable to the Eagles, and the 49ers couldn't even score 6 points at home. Now they're on the road against the Eagles. I understand the Eagles have been giving up some points like in the fourth quarter, but I just don't think the 49ers have it in them to keep it this close within 13.5. So I like the Eagles minus 13.
See, I as well kind of like the Eagles. The Eagles are number one against the run, and the Niners' only real source of offense is Carlos Hyde. That's the spark. CJ Beathard, this game had a lot of pressure in his face. I don't know how he's going to respond. The Niners are 0-10 straight up in their last 10 East Coast games, so they don't play well on the East Coast to begin with. The Eagles are 7-2 against the spread their last 9, 7-3 last 10 at home. But the over has gone over in 4 of the last 5 for both the Eagles and the Niners. So I'm going to take the over 46.5.
Yeah, personally, I'm going to take the over at 46.5. Like Ty said, was talking about the Niners-Cowboys game, but if you watch that game, there was a lot of bad breaks that went the Cowboys' way and didn't go the 49ers' way. They had some turnovers early. They really weren't playing good football. I don't think that's as bad as the Niners are. I think they're a bad team, but I don't think they're as bad as 40-10 loss against the Cowboys. So I think they can put up again here. Like it's kind of a gamble taking a bad team to put up 2 touchdowns against arguably one of the best teams in the NFL right now. But I think I'm going to take the over at 46.5. I think the Eagles, I don't know, they might put the game over themselves if they really want to. They got enough offense.
Damn. Bold statement. Next game up, though. Right before the break, we have the Bills versus the Raiders. The Bills are 2.5-point favorites at home. Over-under in this one's 44.5. This is a game I really want to watch. I think it's going to be a good game. It's a very important game for the Raiders, and it's a big game for the Bills, too. What do you think in this one, Joe?
I'm going to take the Raiders plus 2.5 here. I think that, like Ty said, this can be a really good game. I think that the Raiders finally started to look like the Raiders of last year with Derek Carr. against the Chiefs in that huge win. Crazy game, by the way. I was watching that game, 2-3 untimed downs, at the end. Absolutely crazy. But I think that these teams are going to play a close game both ways. So in this one, I kind of like the points at 2.5. I think the Raiders might win straight up, honestly. I think that the Buffalo plays really well at home, especially on defense. But I think a healthy Derek Carr is one of those things that's hard to stop, especially if they figure out their running game. They do lose Marshawn Lynch this week, I'm pretty sure. But they have some backs to come back. They have DeAndre Washington. And they have another guy, so I forget his name. But they have enough, I think, to where they can sub in for Marshawn Lynch. Maybe this different look for the Raiders' offensive line. Maybe their running back situation. Maybe it helps. Marshawn really hasn't made a huge impact so far, but I think the Raiders can get it done here, plus 2.5.
See, I was leaning towards the Bills. My initial gut was telling me the Bills are playing really good this year. They could potentially really be undefeated if it wasn't for Zay Jones not catching the football against Carolina and that tough game they lost, and a tough game against Cincinnati on the road. So the only two losses were two pretty tough road opponents. They played in the game the whole time. The Bills are 3-0 straight up and 2-0-1, two wins and a push at the spread at home this year. The Raiders are 1-2 against the straight up and against the spread on the road. The Raiders are 4-19 straight up in their last 23 on the East Coast. They played the Redskins on the East Coast this year. They looked terrible. We got to look for the West Coast East games. But the Raiders have looked good lately, and you don't really know what they're going to get. Derek Carr finding Amari Cooper again, which is a pleasant sight for Raiders fans. Put up 30 points. And the Bills have been scoring a lot of points too. Tyrod Taylor's really played well. Sean McCoy's being shady. He's on pace for over 1,000 yards again this season. And so I think with both teams getting their offense going, over under only at 45.5 or 44.5, I'm taking the over here. What do you like, Ty?
Yeah, I like the Raiders plus 2.5 here. I think it's a big game for the Raiders, and they showed it with that win against the Chiefs. That when Derek Carr is healthy, they can beat any team. And that being said, I understand why the Bills are favorites here, but I think the Raiders getting 2.5 points, you should take that all day, because even with Marshawn being out, he really hasn't been that big of a factor for the Raiders. They've still been able to just throw on anybody. And then Amari Cooper finally came out of his shell and looked like Amari Cooper, the number 4 overall pick. So I like the Raiders. I think Amari Cooper keeps it up, and the Raiders keep it going.
It's like 1 week, it was like I agree with you about the Bills, and I hopped on the Bills wagon. You were telling me about the Bills. I was with the Raiders for so long. Now it's like you're going with the Raiders. I'm going with the Bills. What's going on? We'll see though. It's gonna be a good game though. I don't know. This game's gonna be really close. 2.5 is a good spread. It's gonna be a field goal game either way, I think.
Yeah. There were a couple people on the Bills that were questionable for a game, which makes me lead towards the Raiders, because Jordan Poyer's hurt for the Bills, and he's been really, really good for them at free safety.
Yeah, I mean, I took the over just because I think the Raiders might finally have it together. They might be the Raiders of last year again. So just in case, I took the over. But my guts tell me the Bills. We'll see. But let's take a little break here. Let's get into our segment we call Saturday for the Boys, college football. My man Ty Bean goes through it, gets his 3 locks of the week. Been struggling as of late. He had a good start, stayed hot lately in the beginning of the season, but lately it's been tough. College football is always chaotic. So, Ty, let's give us your 3 winners for this week, though.
All right. So my first game I feel very good about, that I'm wearing my shirt in support, is Ohio State minus 6.5 against Penn State. I think they're covered. There's a reason why they're favorites by 6.5 points. They're gonna kill Penn State. Then I like Michigan State minus 2.5 against Northwestern. That is Michigan State 16th in the country, and they're playing Northwestern, who is tough at home, but I believe Michigan State is better on the road and they can win this game. And then Arizona's getting 3 versus Washington State. Arizona's looked like a completely different team with Khalil Tate coming in at quarterback. He's been rushing for like 200 to 300 yards a game for them. So I feel like Washington State's going to have a hard time keeping up with him, their high-packed offense. So I like Arizona plus 3.5 against Washington State.
I like it. Just my quick pick for the week. I like Iowa State at home plus 6.5 against TCU. Iowa State, as I'm about to mention, they've been very good against the spread this season. And TCU, I think they're bound to lose. They're playing a tough Iowa State team to beat Oklahoma. So I like Iowa State getting 6.5 this week, and UMass plus 4.5 at home against Appalachian State. Feel good about
it. For me, this is kind of a tough week. I didn't do too bad last week. Picked Notre Dame. Told you they win big over USC. They did. Notre Dame the USC offense got exposed. Personally, here I think one pick that I like is West Virginia getting 7.5 at home against Oklahoma State. We got Oklahoma State at 11, West Virginia at 22 for their ranking. Oklahoma State struggled last week in their game. I think that West Virginia playing at home, I think this is a game that they can win, especially getting 7.5 points at home. I'm going to take them. So we'll see how it goes.
And if you guys watched show last week, I did a segment or a feature going against the top 10 teams in college football against the spread right now, their records and like their average margin of victory against the spread. So after last week, let's give you our top 10. Still staying at 10 is Penn State at 5-1-1. They're averaging over 10.5 points against the spread each game, so they've been looking good. Texas is coming in at 9, 6-1. They're plus 4.3 for the year. And number 8, we have Buffalo, who was 7-0 against the spread. They did not cover last week against Miami of Ohio. They're at a plus 4.5 for the year. Arkansas State coming in at 5-1. They had the bye last week. Marshall 6-1. They're plus 11.8 against the spread. Notre Dame, Joe took last week, is 5. They're 6-1 against the spread, covering it by 13.3 on average. Number 4 is Iowa State, who was playing its Texas Tech last week. We're both at 5-1. Iowa State knocked off Texas Tech to move up to number 4. They're averaging 15.1 against the spread. They actually blew out Texas Tech last week, and they were favored by 6 or 7.5. Number 3 is Georgia Tech. They are 6-0 against the spread for the year, and they're averaging 9.9 against the spread. Number 2, we have Fresno State, who's 6-1, plus 18.4 against the spread. So that tie, to me, that didn't matter enough. They're double the points against Georgia Tech. So Fresno State's looking good to cover. And the number 1 team against the spread, who was 9.5 point favorites last week against Navy and covered on a late touchdown to win by 10, is UCF, who is 6-0 on the year, and they're averaging and beating the spread by 16.6. So UCF is number 1 in the land for covers.
No spread out though yet for UCF at home against Austin P. I guess that's the at 5-3. No spread. I guess they think it's going to be a blowout.
So that is Saturday for the boys in college football. Just a little checking on college football. Oh, real quick though, who's your Heisman right now?
Saquon. It's got to be Saquon. Honestly, I mean Bryce Love's looking good too, but right now it's Saquon.
Bryce Love.
I'm going with Saquon, but don't count out Lamar Jackson too. I think if Lamar Jackson isn't in New York for the ceremony, we should protest it.
Count him out. It's not
his numbers are stupid.
Man, come on. He's not even, I don't even know if he's the best quarterback in the Heisman
race. His numbers are stupid. Come on, no one's putting up anything close to what he's doing.
JT Barrett has 21 touchdowns and 1 interception.
Baker Mayfield, Mason Rudolph,
I don't care.
All these guys. Come on.
I don't care. Lamar Jackson.
Also, Ohio State's running back is a freshman, has more running yards this year than Saquon Barkley.
How many all-purpose?
Exactly.
Saquon's a bomb.
Unless honestly, Saquon's my Heisman. Like this week's gonna be big though. If he comes through, maybe 150, maybe 200 all-purpose yards against Ohio State, a couple of touchdowns. I don't know. He's looking good he's looking like definitely he might walk his way into the Heisman. But we'll see.
All right. Well, let's get back right into the last 6 games here on the cards. We have Bengals minus 10.5 at home against the Colts. The over under this one is 41.5. What are you guys going with here?
I like the Colts plus 10.5. The Bengals all year have consistently struggled to score, and I just think the Colts are going to be able to keep it close this week with the Bengals because, like I said, the Bengals really haven't had an offense. They really haven't been able to figure anything out the past couple of weeks. They fired their offensive coordinator, brought in Bill Lazor. He really hasn't done much for them. They still lose games. They still get blown out. Andy Dalton doesn't look anything like the $100 million quarterback they paid for. So I like the Colts in 10.5 here.
Yeah, I think the Colts 10.5 is probably is a good pick if you're going to take the spread here, but I just couldn't buy into the Colts. I don't know. I've read a couple things. made me wary of them. But something I did read is the Colts are 9-2 straight up versus the last 11 versus the Bengals, which is very positive. Andrew Luck was probably there for most of those, and Peyton Manning, but still 9-2 the last 11. Bengals are 5-1 against the spread, coming off a loss. But this is what made me feel confident about the under is the under is hitting 8 of Cincy's last 10, 5 straight home games. They have the 5th best defense, playing a pretty bad offense in Indianapolis. Jacoby Brissett, it'll go as far as they'll take him, which is maybe 14 points a game, maybe. And I think their 29th offense in Cincinnati. I think it's going to be an ugly game. Cincinnati is going to control the game. So I take the under 41.5. And I'd probably take the Colts on the teasers all day. I really feel good about that pick. So for my pick's the under 41.5.
Yeah, I think I like what Ty said about the Colts getting 10.5 here. I think that, they're definitely looking good. But personally, though, I'm going to take the over at 41.5. I think that even though Ty just made a lot of good points about why the under is probably going to hit, but personally, I think 41.5 is way too low. I think that this Bengals defense is not that good. I think that they can put up – I think that the Bengals defense really isn't that good. I think the Colts at home can score some points. I think we saw it. I think we've seen it before. I think Jacoby Brissett and this offense they're not great. They're not.
Bengals are home.
Oh, the Bengals are at home? Oh, wow. It kind of changes that pick for me. No, you know what? I'm still taking it. Over 41.5. I think the Bengals are going to put up a lot of points on a very bad Colts defense. I think that Joe Mixon is going to have a big game this week. I think that, I don't know. I just have a feeling there's going to be a lot of offense in this game. So I'm going to take the over at 41.5.
Mm-hmm.
That was big.
Right, next game up, we got the Pats, who look very good on Sunday Night Football. Minus 7.5 against the Chargers. Over this one's 48.5. Chargers also looked well last week, shutting out the Broncos, which was kind of surprising to me. But Jay, what's your take here?
I'm gonna let you guys go first.
With that tie.
Don't believe the Patriots defense from last week. That is just crazy. If you guys think that was just like 1 week. The Falcons haven't been able to do anything offensively the past 2 weeks. They lost the Dolphins. That wasn't really an impressive win to me. So I like the Chargers. Go Bolts, getting 7.5 here. They have a Hall of Fame quarterback. I've said almost every week when Phillip Rivers, he just covers games. He keeps it close. I don't think the Patriots defense is that good. I think Melvin Gordon, if he's able to play on Sunday, then I think he's going to have a big game against the Patriots.
See, I bet a lot of stuff. It says the Chargers 2-5 against the spread when playing at New England in the last 7. Chargers, though, are 12-4-1 in the last 17 against the road, so they're consistently playing well on the road. But the Pats are 7-2 of the last 9 versus a losing record. So there's just a lot of the trends aren't really telling you much either way here, but the trends are telling you that the over has hit 6 of the last 7 games at New England, and also the over has hit in 6 of the last 7 for the Chargers as well. And you're playing the number 1 offense in the Patriots going against a bad secondary and against the Chargers. And the Chargers, Phillip Rivers, who loves to sling football, is playing the last rated offense in New England. And the only time there's only been one quarterback through less than 300 yards this year, and that was Matt Ryan. So I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this one. I like over 48.5. I think it goes over by a couple.
I think the Chargers have better defense than what you're giving credit for them.
They did look good last week.
They got Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram.
They do get to the quarterback.
They get a lot of sacks, and they have Casey Hayward, who's looked like a great pickup for them this offseason.
But I just think Brady. I think Brady throws the ball on him still. I still think he's going to get the ball. He gets to the ball, rid of the ball so quickly that it kind of eliminates the other team's pass rush sometimes. And I think they're going to score a lot of points. And I think Rivers are going to match them with that secondary. I think it's just going to be a shootout all the way. We've seen 2 games already like this at Foxborough between the Texans and the Panthers. So, yeah, I'm going to take the points over the points here.
I don't know. I think they're not giving the Patriots enough credit. Last week, I told you to take it to the bank. I told you the Pats were going to cover. They didn't believe me. They weren't with it. This week, though, I think the Pats win by 7.5. I think last week it was very interesting what happened in the game. I think so. We in that game didn't have Stephon Gilmore or Eric Rowe, so our number 1 and 3 corners. So we lost. We're down 2 corners. And so I'm going in this game, I'm thinking that they might lose, but the Patriots defense starts to elevate. They start to play better. Matt Patricia really seems like he's getting this Patriots team together. Because the thing with the Patriots defense, I think is they have talent on the defensive side of the ball. It's just sometimes there's a lot of miscommunication. Sometimes they're not talking to each other. They're not playing well, and that's what is the reason they're getting up a lot of yards is because they can't figure out a system. They can't play well together. But I think that they're going to start playing well back together. So I think the biggest thing though that might be the game changer is Melvin Gordon for the Chargers and Dante Hightower for the Patriots. He's out for the season. Very disappointing. He's basically he's really our best linebacker. He's probably our best defensive player as well. So I think that's a huge loss, especially for us. But I think this Patriots team is starting to play better. I think they only get better as the season goes on. So take them to cover -7.5.
With the Patriots, on defense, they just have 3 superstars, and then one of them goes down. I just don't think their defense is.
We're getting Shane McClellan back from IR though, so he's coming.
Shane McClellan and Dante Hightower are not even comparable
all right.
players.
But what I'm saying is we didn't have Shane McClellan at the beginning of this year because he was on IR. Now we have Kyle Van Noy and Shane McClellan.
You didn't have Dante Hightower at the beginning of the year, and you guys teams are putting up 30 points against you every week.
I have heard you say to me multiple times that Dante Hightower is the heart and soul of this defense, and without them, he's the reason why they play so badly. You say, well, once we get him back, we'll be good.
But now he's gone for the year, and they average 30 points when he's not playing. Opposing teams score on the Patriots.
This might make you want to take the Chargers. It might want to take it one way or the other. But what did you hear last week about the Falcons? All I'm going to say is I know my team. I'm sticking with them. Belichick and Brady at home. You kind of can't beat it. I'm going to take it 7.5 points. You saw what they did to the Falcons. This Patriots team is instant offense. They have the chance to score 40 points every single week. They don't do it every time because they get shut down, but I really think that this Patriots offense –
I like the over.
Say whatever you want. Bet against Tom Brady. See how it goes for you.
I'm just betting for them to cover.
Yeah, 7.5.
That's the second toughest spread to cover, Joe.
But
they're going to win.
Without their best middle linebacker.
Well, on Tuesday, we can talk about this game, and we'll see who was right.
Me.
We'll see.
Next game up, we have the Seahawks -5.5 against the Texans. Over under this one's 45.5. Seahawks are at home. I think this is the toughest test for Deshaun Watson. I read something on Twitter. It was it's a fantasy game to see if he's there's an untouchable. There's no defense that you should bench him against. If he can put up against Seattle on the road, that he's a start every week for fantasy. Because offensively, there's really been no stop. They scored 30 points in 4 straight games. He looked really good. But they're playing a really tough defense this week. Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, and Earl Thomas. He's never seen a secondary like this. Sheldon Richardson rushing them. And Texans are 1-6 after the spread after a straight-up win. The favorite team is 3-0 straight up against the spread the last 3 matchups between these teams. The Seahawks are 5-2 against the spread in the last 7 at home. And so I think that you're going to see a down game from Deshaun Watson. And I like the Seahawks to cover -5.5 here. But I would not be surprised at all if Deshaun Watson wins this game and just cements his case for Rookie of the Year because he's been playing lights out this year. And I'm a believer regardless of what he does this game. But I like the Seahawks -5.5.
That's a good pick. I like this. I like it as well. I like the Seahawks -5.5. Honestly, I think that the Seahawks defense has been playing well. I think that they always play well. So we're gonna see how this Texans defense does. Just like Ty said about their offense and seeing how well Deshaun Watson can play against this defense. He really hasn't had a game where he struggled a whole lot, but I think this might be the game. Also, the Texans on defense. I don't know. I think this might be the week we see how big of a difference Whitney Marsalis and J.J. Watt not playing has on this Texans defense. I think that without those two guys, I think Russell Wilson can very easily pick apart this Texans defense, especially now. Looks like they haven't really figured out their running game yet in Seattle, but I mean, Russell Wilson's been throwing the ball pretty well. Doug Baldwin on pace for another 1,200-1,300 yard season. I don't know. I think their offense is starting to click, starting to figure it out. So I'm going to take them -5.5.
Yeah. Like Ty said, Texas came in. They've scored 30 straight points in 4 straight games. But again, he hasn't played a defense like the Seahawks defense at home in Seattle. That's going to be real tough with the noise there. I just don't think Deshaun Watson has ever played in an environment like that and played a defense so good like that. So I just think that I like the under here. The under is 45.5. Yeah. I just think it's going to be a really close game. The Seahawks really don't put up a ton of points offensively. They've averaged like 21, and they have a really good defense, and it keeps it close. And so I would like to see Hawks minus 5.5, but I feel a lot more comfortable with taking the under here because I just don't see a lot of these teams scoring.
Ty Bean just took an over-under. First time in 2 weeks.
I took 3 this week.
3?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
And that's crazy.
I haven't really been. Ty's getting crazy this week. You see, I changed it up. You had a couple down weeks. Got to switch up the format.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. All right, but yeah, that's going to be another really good game now. And if you guys want to read the pigskin preview that I mentioned earlier, I talk about this game, go in depth. And I also go in depth on the next game on our slate, which is the Cowboys minus 2.5 at Washington. Over under this one's 50.5. These are 2 top 10 offensive teams. The boys are 6th, the Skins are 9th. And historically, 18 of the last 25 have gone over in this game. The Cowboys have won 4 of the last 5 though against the Skins. Redskins defense is a little banged up still. Offensive line's banged up. So there's injuries all over the place here. Cowboys defense, they looked good against San Francisco, but it's a bad offense as well. I think Cousins is going to definitely put up some points. This is a game that the Redskins are desperate to win, and the Cowboys as well, trying to stay alive in the NFC East. I just think that the safer pick here is to go over 50.5. I think the Redskins will win this game. I feel good about it, but I just feel really good about there being a lot of points scored in this game. I think it's good. We're in for a shootout here. So that's my pick.
Wow, that kind of surprised me. I really was hoping. I really thought I was going to hear Skins plus 2.5. He didn't say it, so I will. Skins plus 2.5 here. I think it's the good pick. I think that the Skins it was a tough game against the Eagles. They played okay. I think that they can play better than that. I think especially looking at the Cowboys minus 2.5 on the road here. I think especially as a home dog, I think the Skins get it done. I think they can play well enough this week, and I think this game's going to be close. So I'll take the points here.
Yeah, I like the Cowboys minus 2.5. I think the Eagles showed last week to beat the Redskins. You have to target TJ Swearinger. He's one player who can't cover out there for them, and that's how 3 of the Eagles' 4 touchdowns came from. Were off DJ Swearinger covering Mac Hollins for a 64-yard touchdown. Everything. That being said, I think Dak is going to be able. They're going to target DJ Swearinger a lot. I know it hurts, Todd. I'm sorry. And I think Zeke's going to be able to keep it going, especially after last week. He's going to be able to put up 100 yards, and this game's going to be really high scoring. But I also think the Cowboys are going to be able to pull it off with minus 2.5.
Another thing for the over, for the last 5 for the Cowboys and the Skins are going over. So these teams, they know how to score. That's all I have to say about this game. And the Redskins and TJ Swearinger's coverage. Thanks for that, by the way.
Just a friendly reminder.
Still see Mac Hollins in my nightmares.
Yeah, I bet that hurt.
Next game up, Sunday Night Football. Steelers minus 3.5 against the Lions. Ty's team. Over under in this one's 45.5. Ty, let you start out with this one. What are you doing with the Lions this week?
Yeah, man, I have no clue the Lions in any week. They frustrate me so much because I don't know. And I have a good feeling going in, and then I switch it the last second. But just seeing Pittsburgh play, and I said a couple weeks ago that you should get off the Pittsburgh bandwagon. I thought they were going to blow up, and they've completely proven me wrong. Apparently, Juju is now going to be the number 2. With them, Martavis Bryant's not even playing anymore, and their defense has looked like the old Steelers defense. Hard nose, stop the run. They can get to the pass rush, can cover people, especially with Joe Hayden and Artie Burns. So I like the Steelers minus 3.5 here. Even against the Lions really have been they're off and on, and Stafford's prone to throwing a turnover or 2. So that's why I like the Steelers minus 3.5.
Yeah, I think the Steelers here is a good pick. The Steelers are 8-2 and straight up, and 7-3 of the last 10 against the spread on the road. The Lions are 3-7 against the spread the last 11. So maybe that's the reason why they're so frustrated. They just haven't been very good against the spread. And the Pittsburgh D's been playing great lately. They're number 1 secondary in the league, and the only way they get exposed is through the running game. And the Lions have no source of running game right now. Abdul and Theo Reddick ranked 29th in total rushing yards. So it just hasn't been good for the Lions. I think AB and Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell are back to what they do best. They're Antonio Brown's getting 8 to 10 catches and 100 and some yards, getting in space, a couple touchdowns. Le'Veon's had over 30 carries in back-to-back games, rushed over 300 yards in these 2 games. So I think the Steelers are rolling. They're playing a Lions team that's an average team at best, and I think the Steelers play well on the road this year. I'll take the Steelers minus 3.5.
Personally here, I think I'm going with the Lions. I'm going with the Lions under here, the Steelers under. I was reading some stats, and 6 out of the last 7 road games for Pittsburgh have gone under. So that shows you that Pittsburgh really sometimes struggles to put up points on the road. I think you have 2 good defenses here in the Steelers and the Lions. I think the Lions, one of their best parts of their defense is their run defense. So they're really going to need that, especially against Le'Veon Bell. I think also the Steelers have started, their defense has started to prove that they're a lot better than people thought this year too. They've started been playing better. So I think personally in this one, I like the Steelers minus 3.5. They're probably going to win, but I like the under at 44.5 more. I just don't see a lot of. I see 2 high-powered offenses, but I also see 2 defenses, and it just feels like a game where both teams might struggle a little bit on both sides. That might drop the score a little bit. Maybe a lot more field goals, maybe not as many touchdowns. So I'm taking the under at 44.5.
Interesting. Yeah, I think the under's not a bad pick either. These 2 teams. This could be a good game. Interesting. The Lions be competitive. I think it could be interesting, but it could also just be a stinker. A lot of a 20-3 or 20-10 game. Steelers just roll over. But I don't know. Tune in Sunday Night Football. That means the last game we have on the card is the Chiefs minus 7.5 at home against the Broncos. Over under this one's 43.5. What are you guys gonna say here?
I think I'm taking the Chiefs minus 7.5 at home. It's a lot of points. I know it's a lot to ladies' points, but the Chiefs coming off back-to-back losses here, especially that tough loss against the Raiders. Personally, I think this Denver team who got shut out by the Chargers last week completely surprised me. Personally, I think the Broncos defense is solid. I think that's what we've seen, and they only gave up 21 points against the Chargers, which isn't bad. If they had any offense, they might have won that game. But I think with the Broncos, they're too inconsistent with Trevor Siemian. In this run game, you just never really know what you're going to get out of the Broncos. So I'm going to stick with Andy Reid here in the Chiefs minus 7.5. I just feel like, honestly, I feel like it's the safer pick, especially because teams have shown that you can run the ball on the Denver's defense. So if you start running the ball on their defense, Alex Smith can probably pick apart that secondary as well once they get the running game going. So taking the Chiefs minus 7.5.
I think that I'm going with the Broncos here. The Broncos defensively are ranked number 1 in the league still, even against points allowed, against the number 30th team in the Chiefs. So the Broncos offense have really been struggling lately, but there's time to get it going. They can get it going against this Chiefs team, as it's proven teams can score points. Broncos are 6-2 against the spread the last 8 at KC and 5-1 straight up, getting 7.5 points. I think that's way too many points. Another thing I read is 64% of the money is going to KC. I see a lot of money going one way. I like the other side more. So I think the Broncos plus 7.5 is a good pick here.
Yeah. I like the Broncos plus 7.5 here as well. With the Chiefs, there's a couple things I've noticed with them that they've come off 2 weeks they've lost in a row. And 1 week they got ran on all week. Le'Veon ran for 150 yards and got a touchdown. And then Derek Carr threw for 400 yards on the Chiefs. And it just makes me believe the Chiefs are a very beatable team. The Broncos, they're struggling offensively. This is the game I think that they figured it out. And if C.J. Anderson can start get a couple runs going for the Broncos, I see them able to win this game against the Chiefs. And another thing I've noticed is Tyreek Hill for the Chiefs and their offense, he scores a touchdown every other week. Scored one last week. He's not scoring this week, especially against the Broncos defense that is really tough. So I don't see the Chiefs able to put up a lot of points, especially able to put up 7.5, to cover 7.5 against a tough Broncos defense that is ranked number 1. So I like the Broncos plus 7.5.
You guys aren't worried at all after that last week? After last week, not even putting up any points?
They bounced back.
They bounced back.
Teams get together in NFL.
Teams get together in NFL, but I think last time they got shut out was the 90s or something like that. They haven't been shut out in 20-something years. I don't know. That, personally, for me, that's just not a good sign. I can't get behind. It means they were good. It means they're scoring next week, but that's not a great sign for an offense.
Chiefs give up points to everyone, though. So
Chiefs do give up points to everybody.
30.
About that.
I don't know. 64% of the money. Vegas knows what they're doing. 7.5. That's too many points. I feel really good about the Broncos. I don't know.
I do. I feel very confident about that game as well. Outside of Tyreek Hill, there really isn't an offensive weapon for the Chiefs other than Kareem Hunt. Like wide receiver wise, you have Travis Kelce and then Tyreek Hill.
And the Broncos proved they can win in KC. The last 8 games they covered 6 times and they've won straight up 5 of their last 6. So they know how to win in KC. So I think it's a division game. Broncos need this one. They might not even win the game. KC could seal it somehow, but I think 7.5 is too many.
Yeah. And, Andy Reid being an Eagles coach for so long, just it feels like a Chiefs loss here. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
All right, so that wraps up all of our games. Those are our picks. We got them all circled. We're going to let you guys know who wins on Tuesday. Hopefully we have that show up for you guys, recapping all these games and our picks. But yeah, I feel good about it, honestly. I feel confident. Only 12 games, so all the points matters here. So that's good. But we did a segment last week called What I Learned, and I learned a few things and I put it into my picks, and I did it again, so a couple of things that I learned that made me lean a couple ways here. And so this segment, What I Learned, is that the Steelers, they're going to be all right. Le'Veon Bell has been doing what Le'Veon Bell wants. He's getting the ball. He can't complain about touches, not getting the rock. 30 in back-to-back games. He ran for over 130 and had 170 against the Chiefs. Then Antonio Brown's going. Big Ben's been taking care of the football. He's been efficient, and which is important, not turning the ball over. Their defense is playing outstanding. They're first against passing team. No one can throw the ball on them right now. Forcing turnovers. Guys like T.J. Watt, Ryan Shazier are making plays for him. I think the Steelers are looking very good right now, and we kind of slept on them because of their slow start. But they were looking like one of the most legit teams in the AFC, with, I guess, the Chiefs and the Patriots right now. But they're looking very good. Another team that looks really good right now is the Bills. I mentioned earlier they could be undefeated right now if it wasn't for that 9-3 loss to the Carolina Panthers, where they were in the whole game, and Zay Jones was walking into the end zone, just couldn't make the play. And a game against that Cincinnati team, which was a tough game on the road. So they're playing well this year, and I think at home, I think they're going to respond against the Raiders. And I think they keep it going and keep getting dubs. So what I learned this week is that the Steelers may be the best team in the AFC, and the Bills are right there in the thick of things too.
Wait, what did you say? The Bills might be the best team in the AFC?
I said the Steelers might be the best team in the AFC. There's a comment. Anything you guys learned there this week? There, anything that caught your eye, gave your attention? You want to mention?
I just got an update that DeAndre Hopkins skipped practice today because of the owner's comments saying about talking about the protest, and a lot of players are pissed off about that, calling Texans owner Donald Sterling-ish, around there. Draymond had a post about it today, so things are getting heated. People are mad about this. Especially if DeAndre Hopkins, after getting a $100 million contract, skipping practice.
Yeah, this could definitely escalate into something. I think the reoccurring theme of the season is going to be these protests are going to keep coming up because Trump won't let it go, which keeps lighting fire to the fuel to the fire. And these comments here are completely unacceptable, completely inappropriate. As Richard Sherman tweeted out, it shows people's true colors. He thanked him for saying that, so now they know where people stand. And I don't blame DeAndre Hopkins for not going to practice. I don't blame him if he wouldn't play the game. I believe the only way that something's going to happen in the league, with this whole protest and this social injustice, is if someone doesn't play a game. People just sit out, and it really deflects the owner's pocket. Now they're losing money because say the Cowboys, Jerry Jones told them not to. Everyone has to stand. What if they're like, all right, screw you, we're not going to play? Yeah,
especially after 2 weeks, earlier, he was on the field kneeling with everybody, and then comes out, it just makes him look like a hypocrite. And all the players are looking at that, seeing how the owners are. All they care about is money. They look at all the players. It's just items for them. Mm-hmm. They don't care really about your health or anything outside of that. They just want to see how much money you can bring to the franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything you want to say, Joe?
Yeah, I learned that the Eagles, I think that one thing I learned is I wasn't sure about the Eagles. I picked them in the cards, but I think the Eagles are for real right now. I don't know. What I learned, though, is that this team healthy, last week, they were good, but I think that they're a little bit worse this week. They lose some pieces. think the Patriots a little bit worse this week, lost some pieces. One thing that I learned though is that the Rams are serious. They're serious on offense. They can put up points on anybody. Doesn't matter where they're playing. Doesn't matter what they're doing. I think we only saw 1 week where they couldn't score points, and that was a divisional game against Seattle. They put up 33 on the Cardinals. They've been averaging, like 30 points this year on average. Probably their top 5 in points. I think the Rams are surprising some people. I think that they might have a legit chance to win this division this year. Another thing I learned, though, is the Jaguars, if they had a better quarterback, might be a whole lot better. Honestly, this defense is dominant. Like, they're very dominant. They've been playing well, like, week to week. I think against the Colts, holding them to 0 points is a lot.
What would you trade to get Eli Manning on the Jaguars?
Blake Bortles in a second. I don't know why you'd ever take that trade. I'd be like, look, like, this is what we got to offer. Can't really give you anybody on defense. Kind of need those people. I don't know. Give Allen Robinson.
If the Jaguars got Eli Manning, would they be the best team in the NFL? Do you think that?
No, I don't think Eli Manning.
They're a quarterback away. That's the way I thought with the Texans last year. That if the Texans got a quarterback, that they are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. But then you know how J.J. Watt and Willie Merciless got hurt this year.
That kind of.
But you see how improved this team is with an actual starting quarterback.
No, absolutely. That's the only thing I'm missing from Texas last year. They had all the pieces. They were competing with the Patriots too. Like, they were in that game.
And I think that's the same thing with the Jaguars. The Jaguars actually could be a very nice option for Kirk Cousins next year.
Could be.
Kirk ain't going anywhere.
Hey, man.
Calm down.
We'll see. Let's play hypothetical here. Say the Redskins go sign at 7-9. Do you pay them the money? Do you sign to the max contract, or do you let them walk? You probably pay him.
You pay a
pay a
quarterback $30 million to go 7-9. Is that really what you want, Todd?
Also, Bob McNair trash. Shout out Dave. Good comment.
Are we done?
I can bash the Redskins
I don't
forever.
Okay. Going into our next segment, we have our Arc Boy Locks of the Week. Last week, we did the damn thing. We went 3 for 3. We did not take it on the card because there was a questionable pick for Ty that I didn't agree with. I could not consciously pick it.
I like the Eagles.
I couldn't do it. Ty actually tried to write the Eagles down like 4 times. It kept saying no. But his pick was the Eagles, so I gave him that one. I took the Vikings -5.5, and Joe took the Saints -5.5. So we all got our locks this week right now. We're 10 for 19 for the season, 53%. So we're starting to figure out our locks. We're getting there. Mm-hmm. This week, I feel confident in them. Ty, let's start out with you. Who is your lock for the week?
My lock for the week is the under in this Saints-Bears game at 46.5. I really don't see the Bears able to score any type of offense against the Saints. And I just don't see the Saints being able to put up 50 points on their own and take this game over. So that's why I like this game a lot. I feel like I really don't understand why it's 46.5.
I like that pick too. I feel good about it. I'm with it. Joe's pick, we both disagree with, but you know what? This is his lock.
Yeah.
So, Joe, who's your pick?
Pass my 7.5. Feel good about him. I think that one thing that they're not really talking about that really surprised me is how well this Patriots defense played, especially with the injuries. I would never have thought with these injuries, 7 points. That's what they gave up to the Falcons. And one of them was a garbage time touchdown. If Malcolm Butler was stronger than Julio Jones, it'd be a shutout.
Play college offense.
Yeah,
it's not anything.
How good has that Falcons offense been? They gotta show me. This is the first time they've filmed.
It's been a completely.
They gotta show. They gotta show you. But whose defense do you think is better, the Dolphins or the Patriots? Who put up more points on the
7? Okay, they scored 17 points. You can't always go who scored, but they were also at home. They were on the road this game. Come on, hey
man. All I'm gonna say is this Patriots defense. You can say this Falcons defense, but it wasn't even like it was a regular game. This is a Super Bowl rematch here. The Falcons gave up the worst comeback in Super Bowl history. You don't think they would play with a little more heart? You don't think they could figure out a little bit more to score more than 7 points? They had 2 missed field goals, but still, that's bad. And personally, I think the Patriots offense is just gonna keep rolling. I think that Brandon Cooks, he's starting to get involved these past 2-3 weeks. Now he's a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy. I think he's becoming a really solid option for Tom Brady. I think their offense is going to keep going. I just don't see how the Chargers are going to keep up with the Patriots offense. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold them on defense, but I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up.
I think the Chargers,
especially at home.
I think the Chargers defense is a lot better than what you're saying.
It might be, but
I think the Chargers defense over the Falcons defense any day of the week. And that being said, you lost your middle linebacker too, so it's just making me seem all the more that the Chargers are going to be able to keep this game close. Speaking how when Dante Hightower's out, it's a completely different team. It's the same thing with Sean Lee and the Cowboys. When Sean Lee's not playing, the Cowboys' defense is completely different than when he is playing.
I don't care.
Something I noticed about Joe's locks is these are the picks that he wants to be right. Not always that they're bad picks, because he has been right a couple times, but like these are the picks that like me and Ty disagree with something, and Joe thinks he's right. Joe's gonna take the damn pick. He feels good about it. He doesn't care what we say.
See, you know what? Like, I get that, and that's true sometimes. But like personally, I was looking. I don't really love a lot of these picks this week. Like some of these spreads are kind of hard. Not really feeling like too particular one way or the other. But I got my team here -7.5 after a very good performance on Sunday Night Football last week. I don't know. It just felt like the best pick to me. I mean, we'll see how it goes.
My pick is the team that looked awful on Sunday Night Football last week. I think the Falcons respond. I think they come back, a bounce-back game playing the Jets. -4.5. I said this earlier. The Falcons 5-0 straight up against the spread and on the road against teams with losing record. So they're playing a bad Jets team, that's been hot lately. They're 4-1 against the spread. They're due for a loss. I think the Falcons, they got to get it together. I think this Matt Ryan is due for a game. He's played like himself lately, which is scary for Falcons fans. You know, last year was just been like an odd year for him. He just played out of his mind. But I really think that the Falcons, though, 4.5, they get it together and they beat the Jets on the road. So there's our locks this week at the under 46.5 in the Bears Saints. Pats -7.5 and the Falcons -4.5. So I like this on a card. I'll take it. I'll rock with you, Joe. We're gonna.
You can take the Pats.
I took the over, so I took the Chargers. So I think I won't take the Pats, big dick. What's on our mind this week, guys? What's been on our mind? Anything you want to end the show with? What you guys have been thinking?
Eagles are going to the Super Bowl.
Fair enough. What I would say is a wild game 2 of the World Series. It's nutty. The game went 11 innings. You saw Marvin Gonzalez hit a home run to tie it in the 9th. Altuve and Carrera hit 2 bombs in the 10th, followed by a Puig bomb and then a RBI single by Enrique Hernandez to tie the game. And then George Springer happened in the bottom, on top of the 11th, hit a 2-run bomb. Was able to give them enough of an advantage. The Dodgers scored 1 in the bottom half, but they couldn't do it. Verlander and the Astros steal game 2. It's tied up. Are you guys thinking about taking this? You still on the Dodgers train?
Yeah. I do like the Dodgers. I don't know. I really haven't watched any baseball this year, and I called the World Series right. So I feel very confident about that. In my lack of baseball I'm watching, I'm going to Dodgers. I have a feeling with the Dodgers this year. Magic gets his ring. Not with the Lakers or anytime soon, so he'll feel good about the Dodgers.
How about you, Joe?
Dodgers in 7.
Dodgers in 7?
Yep.
Another thing that surprised me, the NBA season's underway. Warriors are 3-2, off to a real slow start. I don't know. They look bad a couple games they lost to the Grizzlies, lost to the Rockets on opening night. I don't know. I think they'll get it together, but it's just kind of maybe the NBA is getting a little more competitive than we thought. It's not just the Warriors and the Cavs.
I don't think so.
Get a lot of myself.
I don't think so.
I don't know. He might have been getting ahead of himself too much.
I'm trying to start conversation.
Popovich comes out, he says basketball doesn't matter until December. That's when they start playing defenses. Everybody knows their rotations, and that's when you start determining who's the best teams who.
One thing I noticed in the NBA is just like everybody predicted, tied for the Eastern Conference lead right now in that division is the Cavaliers and the Magic, just like everybody predicted. So,
Nets right there at 3-2.
Nets right there at 3-2. That just shows you how unimportant basketball is right now.
D'Angelo Russell is winning Most Improved Player of the Year.
He might, honestly. He's been snapping.
I love me. The Lakers are idiots for trading Dange. I think he's a straight bucket. And Clippers are 4-0. Blake Griffin hit a buzzer beater last night.
Yeah, double clutch buzzer beater from Blake Griffin. I watched that on my phone. I was blown away. I thought it was in a different universe, honestly.
He was. He said, I never thought I'd see this day. He was flabbergasted. I kind of was, too. But Blake's stepping up. Now, it's his team. He's acting like it.
Maybe show him why they're paying him the money, maybe. I mean, maybe this year he proves, like he says, I improved my game. Maybe Clippers fans are okay with that they've paid him back.
Yeah, they'll enjoy the first round. That's it.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
But, anything else on your mind there, guys? Anything else you've been thinking about? You want to talk about?
I think there needs to be a serious consideration of when Brett Brown gets fired for the Sixers. Because it is starting to get frustrating whenever the Sixers call a timeout in the last 2 minutes they can't figure out how to score. They don't even have Joel or the best players come up to set a screen or anybody. You have Jared Bayless and Rocco come up first and have JJ and Joel standing in the corner. That makes no sense to me. Then you get the ball to Ben with 30 seconds left, who you know is a passing point guard who doesn't take a shot and can't shoot free throws. So why does he have the ball in his hands?
I completely agree. That game against the Rockets, 8 points, 2
It
minutes.
was frustrating. Me and Joe watched it together, and we looked at each other, and right before the Rockets were able to take the last shot, we both said, we were like, I have a feeling either Eric Gordon or James Harden's hitting this three.
James Harden passed it to
Eric Gordon,
and he made the shot.
Yep.
We both were sitting there. I mean, like you look at a team and you can't expect to win games when you can't score with 2 minutes left. Like you can't expect to win games. Like
Especially being up 8.
Yeah, especially being up 8 with 2 minutes left with the ball in your hands. How can you not score any more points? Are you kidding me? Like what, they have like 3 or 4 possessions? They couldn't get one bucket. Couldn't even get to the free throw line against this Rockets team. I don't know. Personally, I was very upset with that game. I think the Sixers, all the way up until that point, were playing very good basketball, showing just really how when people say there's no way the Sixers are going to make it to the playoffs. Like there's no way the Sixers are going to win like 40 games. That just shows me, like, I mean, if you look at it, the only game that we really haven't been close this year is against the Raptors.
And JoJo didn't play.
Exactly. That's all it is. So when we have Joel Embiid and we're playing at full, like, there's no team that we can't compete with. I think we saw some of that last year. I think we're seeing that this year, but this 2-minute offense, like, it's really got it. Like Ty said, like, I mean, I'm really tired of watching Brett Brown blow leads in the last 2 minutes of a game.
And I'm pretty sure it was like last game against the Rockets, JJ hit the first inbound shot that they've made, and they were like 0 for 50.
Oh, it was like 0 for like 40 or something.
Inbounds plays coming after a timeout.
That's on Brett Brown, honestly. Yeah. Like, you can't be 0 for, like, even if you're 0 for 10 on inbounds plays, that's still not good. But 0 for like 30 or 40, like, come on, man. Like, it's garbage. What is he even doing on the sidelines? What is he doing?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you just gotta let them. Hopefully, the Sixers start winning. It's not an issue, but
this one's on Brett Brown.
I agree.
It comes 100% on him, especially when they have a timeout too, and you're not getting anything. It comes down to the last 10 seconds, and the offense isn't doing anything. Just call timeout, regroup, and you still have the ball. You still have 10 seconds. You still have playmakers to score. I really just don't understand like what his thought process was going into that game.
Losing 8 points on 2 minutes is always the coach's fault. They had a lead in the fourth quarter too against the Celtics.
Especially the Rockets. Like, you know, the Rockets are going to be able to put up points in a hurry. Like,
yeah,
it's just very frustrating. That's just the game the Sixers should have won. We should have been sitting here 2 or 3 right now.
Yeah, let him off the hook. They are.
It's killing me, man. Yeah, that game hurt, honestly. Like I said, the game hurt.
Guys, last thing that's on my mind is it's big news, non-sports related. I'm going to be a big brother for the first time next Thursday before the show. My little bro Dylan is going to be here. My mom's going to the hospital.
Future tennis player.
Yeah, Dylan Wesley Abbott. He's next future U.S. tennis star. Look for him. First. Yeah, check him out.
Place your odds now for the U.S. Open next week.
Mm-hmm.
And Wimbledon next week.
Yeah, but so she comes in and my mom's going to the hospital at 9:00. They're gonna induce her. I have class at it's on at 3:30. Is the baby here before or after the class is done?
I'm going after. I heard Ty talk about it. My mom told me before that Ty was 36 hours for him to get delivered. So that's liking the over here. I would say, like, I'll take that to the bank. Ty's gonna see his little brother after 3:30. After his
personally,
class.
I'm with this pick. I've been liking this pick for the past 9 months. I like the over 3:30.
Over 3:30, you got to. Jesus is looking out for me. I got to see my little bro be there. So, got that going for us.
We'll see our tennis star.
Yes, sir. Dylan Wesley Abbott, next future sensation. All right, but real quick, guys, all I mentioned this last week, we're going to try to get some YouTube pages up, get our Twitter page up, and our SoundCloud. Well, we have done that. You can follow us on Twitter at BetWithTheBoys. Subscribe to us on YouTube, which BetWithTheBoys. You can find us on there, all our playlists, everything, all our shows. We're going to have our weekly Tuesday show on there. We're starting this week. We're thinking about 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock. We're doing the show on Tuesday. But it probably won't be live. It's going to post it up on YouTube, post it on Twitter. You guys can find that there. And we're on SoundCloud here. We're recording the audio for this. That'll be posted on sometime the next day. So, yeah, be sure to check out with that. And anything else you guys want to add before we get out of here?
Yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you guys haven't done that, Guys
Yeah,
can like it
subscribe.
too.
It's Bet with the Boys, capital B, no spaces in the name. I type in every week. I put them down as Bet with the Boys, week 6, week 7, week 5, week 4. So if you're looking for them, just type it into YouTube. Just type that up. Got everything in there for you.
Links we posted to Twitter and on
I follow the Twitter page too.
yeah,
Yeah,
at
definitely
Bet
follow the
Boys.
Twitter page. We got some interesting stuff coming for that.
Yeah. We'll have all of our picks written out on there individually, so you guys when you can't watch the show, our picks will be on online.
Look at it real quick. You got your favorite person you want to see who they got.
Yeah, we'll also update you guys on Sundays how we're doing throughout the game. Give you guys a 1 o'clock, a 4 o'clock update. Let everything know what's going on. So yeah, just be active. Tweet at us. We can talk about your winners, talk about your bad beats, talk about your questions, what you think is going to happen. So let us know. So
Also, if you guys have more comments, comment in
Yeah.
when we're live here. We can show them on the thing. We'll
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about it. If you guys have any questions you want to bring up.
One thing we like to do, I do at the end of the show usually is like go through our comments because sometimes I don't always show the comments because I can't put the segment for the games and stuff for the numbers up and a comment at the same time. So we got Bob Boyer comment talking about a blowout, he said 40-0 Ravens. You're right, they blew them out. It's a crazy game. I don't think we got Nori here commenting. I don't think he liked my Bears pick over the Saints getting 9.5. I think that's what that's about. So I don't know, Nori. It's up to you. Got Donnie here talking about Donnie likes the Falcons. He thinks that the Jets defense is mediocre and coming off 2 losses, they're due for a big win.
good point,
That's a good point, Donnie. He also said Cam kind of craps the bed when when things don't go his way. And honestly, I believe him. He really has been doing that. So let's see. Shout out Dave,
Shout
Bob
out Dave,
McNair.
man.
Talking about Bob McNair being bad. The Texans suck. I don't know. I think he might be right. I mean, we'll see how this Texans team does against Seattle this week. So we'll see. We got Bob Boyer here talking about. I can't show this. There's a little bit of profanity in his comments. I can't show it, but Bob Boyer is quoted right here. He says, "I waited all week to see and learned Josh Doxson is not a good football player." And you know what? I think he's right. I don't know if he's right or not, but that's just a fellow Redskins opinion. Ty's dad here, so.
And DJ Squaredger can't cover.
Yeah,
It only took us till week 8.
I didn't
7 to know he
didn't
can't
give
cover.
him anything for remember we told you guys it was going to be a big game, that Eagles-Redskins game. Ty's been very quiet. He's real quiet about this.
Very quiet.
Didn't really say anything.
Ty did not come over the day after the game. I did not see him Tuesday. Did not talk to us. Really didn't really have any contact with the man. He wanted his own space. It's understandable after getting blown out like that.
Needed a personal day.
Yeah.
Took a personal day.
It's okay. We'll bounce back to Sunday. But yeah, I appreciate everyone watching the show. Yeah, Skins disappointed me last Monday. Everyone hurt. Still recovering. Like I said, Matt Collins is still flashing by in my dreams, nightmares. But it's all right. Skins recover. Eagles, they're bound to fold. I ain't worried about it.
Yeah.
Not winning the Super Bowl either.
They're not winning
Neither
the
one of
Super Bowl.
us said anything about it. He said that, but come on, he's got it. We know he's joking. He's not really serious right now because we don't come on.
It'll be a successful season for the Eagles if they make playoffs. Win one playoff game.
That seems a little bit more
I'm
realistic.
totally fine with anything that happens after that. Anything after that is just blessing. Because going into this year, we didn't even think we were going to make the playoffs. We were banking. We were praying for that.
Yeah. Eagles have been played, and if you guys look at the Pigskin preview, there's a paragraph in there where I talk about the Eagles and how well they played, which took a lot for me to write, but I'm trying to be unbiased. On the show, it's kind of hard when I'm talking about the Skins, it's the Eagles. But unbiasedly, I think the Eagles are a really good team. But yeah, so that's what's on our mind this week. I think it was a really good show we had this week. Got a lot of activity, some good views here, so I appreciate everyone watching. Come back next Friday, 2 o'clock. Check our show out on Tuesday around 4 or 5. Follow our Twitter page. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Everyone from here at NGSC Sports thanks you. This is Bet with the Boys. Catch you guys next week.
Peace.